6 weeks worth of the Superfood Lifestyle Transformation Cleanse. And what we're going to do is we're going to be giving you all the information on why you want to be doing a cleanse to begin with. That's the biggest thing, right? Why would you do a cleanse? I mean, some people, we know that we have people coming from all different mindsets and all different frames, all different lifestyles, etc. But it is always a good time to do a cleanse. And more importantly, for you to even step into this, it can seem pretty radical for you. It can be pretty out there. So you have to know the knowledge and being able to understand why do you want to change your life in this way? Why would you even consider it? And so that's why we wanted to do this workshop absolutely free. That's why we want to invite you all inside this group right here. Have the people that we have here. We just had time to be able to talk about, introduce each other a little bit here in the room personally. And like we said, for those of you that are live, obviously we all invite you to come in here so you can be here in the energy and in the space of whenever we're doing this. And if not, obviously you're tuning in live. And then also share this with friends and family members, because you don't have to be in Northwest Arkansas, that's where we're at, but you can be anywhere in the, anywhere. Just get into that group so you can get this information, so that way you can also have the opportunity to make the decisions on whether or not you're ready to do a cleanse as well. So, got myself here, my husband Dr. Lehorn, also we have Madalyne coming in, and Madalyne Powder coming to speak. We're co-creating together to be able to bring this information to you. And so we're just really excited. And so without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and start to kick this off. For those of you that are in the room right here, you guys have received a folder so that I can get you some information on how to get started. Because the way that we're going to present the information to you on why you want to do a cleanse and do detoxing and the importance of it. We're going to break it down in various segments as we continue on throughout these next 6 weeks. Every Tuesday at 7:30, we're going to be doing it live here in the office, and for those of you who will be doing live recording in the Facebook page. But of course, if you're on the Facebook page, all of you in here in the room should be on there too, so you can go back and rewatch it again. So don't worry about it if you're not catching all the information right now. We're recording it, and as long as the ethers and the networking is working fine, you'll be able to go back and replay and watch that and leave comments, and then know that you're having companion and camaraderie along the way as we're going through learning this as well. So going through that folder right there, just want to let you know, if you haven't already joined in the Facebook group, make sure you join in the Facebook group right there. If you have anybody else that you think would find this useful information, go ahead and just share this with them so they can get into the group too, and that way they can watch it at their leisure whenever they want. They don't even have to start the cleanse right now, it doesn't matter. They can still get the information, so when they're ready, they're ready. You'll see that the big orange page behind there, that's where if you're ready to order the products to be able to get started on this cleanse, we are going to be giving information on the behind the scenes of why it all matters and where the various elements come into play. But this is so that way you can get the biggest bang for your buck, because we have a nice coupon code associated with the barcode that I have on here for those that are ready to jump all in and do this cleanse for the next 30 days. And for those, or you can do it 60 days if you want to do 30, 60, 90 days, however long you want to do it, but at least 30 days. And we'll go further into that. Madalyne's going to share her personal experience with her utilizing this particular cleanse and program and the products. And even though myself and Dr. Lee haven't personally used these products, we're a bit more of the extremists. You'll notice that I'm up here with my juice. For those of you that are in the Facebook page, you know I've been talking a lot about juicing. I've even had contests. I'm guessing what's inside the jar. Guess what's in the jar today, right? So yeah, I'll be drinking the juice. We're doing a little more of an extreme. I can talk about that, but for most people, they're not ready to jump in and stay in front of the juicer all day long in order to allow their body to cleanse and purify and get all the toxins and parasites and everything else out of your body. So for everyone else, that's why we've teamed up with this particular product line, Purion. Thanks to Madalyne introducing it to us, because what matters to us is that we want to make sure we're not adding any toxins to our body. We want to make sure it's completely toxin-free, it's sustainable, that it comes in backed by emission, that we know where it's coming from, so that we're getting the purity of the product of what the superfoods actually have to offer for you without having to stand in front of the juicer all day long. It can be done, we're doing it, but it does take a lot of time, I'm not going to lie. So without further ado, and then on the other side here, this is just whenever you're ready, you realize that there's different options for you to step into this. Like, you can go all in, I'm going to do purely doing all the superfoods and getting all the access to that. But then there's some people that are like, hey, I'm not ready to eliminate everything right now. So there's 3 different options to step into this, even with utilizing the products. always even like another option, which is completely juicing, which is Dr. Lee and I, what we're doing. So we'll go ahead and move forward then. So what we're kicking off with is what is a cleanse. So let's go ahead and get started with that. So this is just me just kind of getting you to the next one. Okay. So literally our gut is considered our second brain. Really, some would argue that your heart is considered your second brain, but that's a whole other conversation there. So keeping it focused on digestion and keeping it focused on cleansing in particular, your gut is literally considered your second brain. So I don't know about you, but isn't it important to take care of this brain right here? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Which is great because Ignite Chiropractic helps you be able to take care of this brain and the spinal cord and the nervous system. But your gut being your second brain means it's very important what's going inside your body, what's being processed, what's being processed that shouldn't be processed, and what things are getting stuck and getting like barren and literally, I'm going to get a little graphic, rotting inside of your body, okay? I see spinal decay, rotting of your spine all the time when I'm here in the office. And then now imagine what's happening within the gut. And when it comes to this being your second brain, this is also directly contributing to what one would call the immune system. And here's the reality, folks, the immune system isn't one thing. Newsflash, it's a combination of things. Part of it is from the gut immunity. Yes, it has to do with our environment inside of our body, right? And so this is why it's so crucial right now and always crucial to make sure that we're taking care of our, quote, second brain, meaning our gut. So our gut microbiome and the gut linings are being destroyed by various toxins and chemicals every day. Some of those knowingly and some unknowingly. I'm very passionate in this part of it, so I'm just going to briefly go into that because when it comes to toxins, I mean, from the things that we're inhaling, we're ingesting, consuming, and also things that we might be putting on our body. Those of you that are in the Ignite Wellness Mind, Body, Spirit group, those of you who are listening, I'm already talking about a lot of that stuff because we live in a toxic covered world. Okay, some of those examples from some of the things that we're consuming, the foods, which is what we're going to be talking about here in cleansing, why it's so important, from the pesticides that are put on our foods. I mean, we have to work so hard, it's crazy. We have to work so hard to get good, clean, quality foods, organic foods, right? And then sometimes we don't even have access to that, so then we have to get these other products to make sure we can clean those foods, especially when we're juicing. I'm juicing sweet potatoes, we're juicing sweet potatoes. If they're not organic sweet potatoes, you better believe I better make sure those things are getting clean because I have no idea what the heck they're putting on the soil and everything else. We're going to go further into that. So for the pesticides, the herbicides, stuff that's being sprayed in the air all day, every day, you know, you hear about chemtrails, what are these little things that are being left in the particulates that are being in the air that we're inhaling on a regular basis. Now, we're not going to walk around with the bubble around us, are we? No, that's not life. No, we need to get outside and we do need to get some fresh air out there. But we do need to be aware of the fact that there are these things that are being sprayed left and right, let alone fumes coming from vehicles. Read about the industrial plants, right? Chicken plants that are around here. Goodness knows what the heck's being shot off from the back end of that kind of stuff. You see what I'm saying, right? And then let alone any other big industries and stuff like that. Me personally, I was raised close to the steel mill industry, so I had car mill plants around me. I had the steel mills all around me. There were tons of things being pumped out into the air all the time as byproducts from these big industries and stuff. So just kind of keeping that in mind. Of course, from also the household and body products that people don't even think about. This is another thing I'm very passionate about. From the things that we put on our body, from the body lotions, the sunscreens. Oh my gosh, so many cancerous things are allowed inside of our products, and I'll just let you know here in the United States, it's insane. There are at least 1,400 banned ingredients that Europe doesn't allow in their body products, household products, skincare products, but we allow. It's quite disgusting if you think about it, because we're supposed to be like the leading nation as far as industrialized nations, right? But quite honestly, we're the sickest. Did you know that? Some of you know that because I used to talk about that a lot. I haven't talked about it in a long time. Those of you listening right here. Yeah, as far as the United States, as far as like where we stand as healthiest nations, we're dead last as far as industrialized nations, which means we're not in the top 10 being the healthiest. We're not in the top 20 being the healthiest. We're not even in the top 30. We're like 30. I haven't looked recently. Last I knew we were 34. Now we're 42. Now we're 42.
Cuba's in front of us.
Cuba is in front of us, people. So, hello, who spends the most money on healthcare? America does, by far, by double fold on who spends the most on healthcare. So there's obviously a huge discrepancy on how much money is being spent on healthcare and the fact that we're definitely not considered the healthiest nation. So doing things like this, what can we do so we can join in community and things that we can do so we can start to cleanse and purify our bodies, to boost our immune systems, not to worry about any bugs out there, and for us to cleanse and purify our bodies so we can truly express health and vitality at the highest level. And then I'll just go on, and obviously a lot of times people don't even realize that laundry detergents and fabric sheets, fabric softeners, oh my gosh. You literally look at the ingredients of fabric sheets. Formaldehyde, people, do you know what that is? A preservative. Preserves the body too. I worked on cadavers whenever I was in chiropractic college. They had formaldehyde on bodies, so it wasn't rotting there while I was working on it. Okay, so you see where I'm going with this? There are just things that are thrown into all kinds of household ingredients, things that we're breathing out there on a regular basis, and foods that we're consuming. They're putting it all over our foods, people. So it is really, really crucial for us to be aware of that, not to be afraid of it, but to be aware of it. And that's what we really want to be able to provide for you. Yeah. All right, so why do a cleanse? Our body absorbs and has to process everything that goes in it and that goes on it. Okay? So I'm just going to go quickly talk about this in relation to ourselves, right? So we as a human being are composed of 50 trillion cells, okay? Cells come together to form organs, organs come together to form organ systems, and then obviously organ systems to come together and we can form this whole collective, beautiful, mechanism that we are right here, this beautiful, amazing thing that we are. But cells need to excrete, they need nourishment, they need shelter, they need to digest, they need to release things. So every cell, 50 trillion cells that are inside of our body, has to have the same nutrient support living situation, so to say. It needs light, sunlight, photon energy as well, just as much as we do. And because we are the ones that are housing these 50 trillion cells, it is really important for us to realize what are we doing to nourish each and every one of our cells, let alone ourselves, right? So I'm going to go ahead and bring this over to Dr. Lee, so Dr. Lee can go ahead and share some information on why he sees that cleansing is so important and what things he can say that he knows that directly he's been having benefit from.
All right, so I have been on a cleanse right now for this is day 29. So I've been on a solid food vacation. I haven't eaten any solid food, so what my body is now doing is it's going through a lot of cleansing reactions in this past month. One of the things that I found very interesting so far on my journey is that I thought I'd be very hungry. You kind of expect that, okay, you do something pretty radical as far as change, and in this case, this is not what you guys are going to necessarily be doing, but you start supplying your body with nutrition and proper nutrients there in order to get it into your body. So when you start to put in the proper nutrition, and you remove the junk that's not supposed to be there, your body literally kicks into a different gear. So what I've been experiencing recently has been major changes in bowel movements, right? So you guys, this is important for you guys to understand because most people think hey, it's all right. I have a lot of patients, practice members who say oh yeah, I'm pretty regular. I go once every other day. And that's more common than you think. Some of you guys may understand what I'm talking about. Or I've had people that say oh, I'm a little bit backed up. A little bit backed up to them was I haven't gone in 3 days. Oh, wow. Right, which is this can be a common thing. So the transit time that it takes for the food to go in to the time that it leaves, many of us don't realize if you're eating 3 meals a day, your whole life, those 3 meals a day should end up with 3 bowel movements a day. And so the amount of time that it takes from the food to hit your lips to the time that it leaves, that should be happening. So imagine how many times that you've gone, and I can tell you I wasn't going 3 times a day. And so now what I've been experiencing is oh man, I'm making up for lost time here. Right? I'm going way more often than I ever was before. I'm thinking, where the heck is this coming from? Because in my case, I'm not eating any solid foods right now. It's all liquid, I'm straining it, and I'm on day 29 And today, I'm up to 3, so if you guys are really interested, I've had 3 bowel movements, 29 days into like not eating anything, right? So imagine when you start putting this good nutrition into your body and you start feeding yourself, you're going to start having changes. And that's gonna be, sometimes it's alarming, because you go, oh my gosh, is this wrong? You know, if I'm having liquid bowel movements right now, the diarrhea type bowel movements right now, is this a bad thing? And it's not, because your body's going to be washing it all through. So I want to get this out and bring this up to you guys. So if you experience it, one of the things, the knee-jerk reactions, if you don't understand, is you start getting scared, right? You go, oh, it's something bad happening to me right now, right? You might be passing parasites, and you might see parasites and worms that you kick out of your body. You might see stones that start coming out of your body. You might have a lot of different stuff, so you might be feeling that start to be excreted. You might wind up, and I've had many of these experiences on this cleanse. Sleep. I had nightmares the first, I thought I usually slept really good, and I have slept good the majority of my life. And the very first night I went on the cleanse, I had a nightmare. Surprised me big time, because I was like, whoa, I don't get nightmares. And I had like a full-on extreme nightmare. Then it started to go away. Another thing you'll start to notice is you'll have food cravings that are not tied to actually being hungry. So that's another thing that I experienced was I'm like, all right, I literally just filled up. Like my stomach is full. And I'm not hungry at all. And then out of nowhere, boom, you might get hit with an intense food craving, like, oh my God, I just need tacos so bad right now. I'm craving chips and salsa. Like, I know where I can get it. I'm talking to my wife, I'm like, I could pound 7 tacos right now. Like, I want it so bad. But I'm not hungry. And so this is something that starts to happen inside of our digestive tract, is like it starts to scream at us, because our body literally has these parasites in there that are controlling our mind. And this is something I brought up to Madalyne, that she really was like, please talk about this. This is so cool. There's a scientist out of Stanford. He's a researcher. His name is Robert Sapolsky. And he has done a lot of amazing work on stress and how it affects the body. But one of the experiments that he did that just completely blew my mind was he was studying a parasite called Toxoplasma gondii. And it's this little parasite that is normally transferred to humans through cats. And they wondered, well, how do cats get it? Well, cats actually get it from the mice that they eat. So they're actually inside of the mouse. So get this. This is why this is relevant at all. This is crazy. So the mouse has the parasite inside of it. The parasite inside of the mouse intestines literally changes. It hacks into, through messages that it goes into the brain. The parasite literally sends chemical signals to the brain to change the mouse's interest in what it gets rewards and pleasures from. And guess what it changes the rewards in the mouse to get pleasure from? Cat pee. It literally, now the mouse is getting a dopamine spike, right? Do you guys know what dopamine is? It's the reward chemical. Like, it's the thing that makes you happy whenever you get ice cream. You're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do that more. Like, that was tasty. This was a good reward. And so the mouse is getting a reward whenever it smells cat urine to hang around it. And it's not coming from the mouse. It's literally being hijacked by the parasite that says, oh yeah, because I need to get into the cat to reproduce. So it literally sacrifices the mouse, so that now that the mouse hangs around the urine, the mouse gets eaten, and now it ate the parasite, and now your cat has the parasite that can now end up infecting the human. Parasites have the ability to hack our brain and hack our dopamine centers. They have the ability to change our thoughts. If that doesn't make you want to get that out of you immediately, then I don't know what will. Because as I've gone through this, I'm starting to recognize more and more that a lot of the emotions that I think that I'm having in the moment, whether they're mine or not, I'm finding out are not always my own emotions. I have been mentally hijacked by some other either chemicals that are overrunning my body that my body is now going through an episode. You might have had a cheeseburger 3 days ago that is affecting how you're interacting with the world right now today, and how would you ever correlate that? You would never ever be able to typically correlate that. But when you start going through and you start getting more tuned in, you start getting that junk out, suddenly you become more sensitive. I become way more sensitive. I'm noticing like what's happening. I'm noticing when all of a sudden I'm like, oh, whoa, I had something like I'm feeling off right now. I'm getting junk out of me. And sure enough, within 3 hours, I'm going to the bathroom and I got demons coming out of me. Right? So it's like, whoa, like that was real. Like, and you start to get tuned into it. So that's what I'm really excited for you guys to be able to experience and understand that, hey, if you're having these emotional spikes and things are going crazy while you're on this cleanse, it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. If you're feeling intense food cravings, it's not because you're doing anything where you're not getting enough nutrition. You're getting all the nutrition that you need. You're getting all the protein that you need. But your body is gonna tell you otherwise. So you have to understand that. Another thing is I've had a much stronger connection to nature. This is pretty amazing to me. When you start getting the chemical waste and structure out of your body, what happens is we start becoming, for me, I've just started to become more tuned in to the world around me. Nature is speaking to me in a way that it never spoke to me before. And I've always been very intuitive and tuned in and seeking that, and all of a sudden now it's raised up to a whole different level. My conversations with God are much more intentional and clear, and I feel like I'm getting downloads from the universe that are compelling me on how to move through my life in ways that are pretty amazing. That's a much more direct connection. And that's capable in all of us, but we're being poisoned to be able to be separated from that. And I'm realizing that, which is making me so much more excited to be like, I'm never going back to the junk and the crap that I'm putting in. I'm making sure I keep this stuff out of me, because this is something that has the potential to enrich my life personally, and I believe yours as well, to a level that the world needs from us right now. The world needs all of us to be raised up onto a higher level right now, because the world is scared, the world is in a panic, the world is disconnected from one another, and we need to feel the oneness again. And I've been feeling that on a deeper level, that it's just becoming more organic and less forced. It's out of less theory and more feeling. And so I'm excited for you guys to start to experience and feeling that as well. And just the deeper levels of love, and that kind of ties into the same type of thing. For those who have blood sugar problems, that's something that I was tracking very closely when I was doing a strong ketogenic diet. And that was something that I was really worried about, because I had fears about eating, like I had a diet that was really high in protein, really high in animal fats, animal protein. I thought that was the way that I was supposed to get nutrition, because that's what we're taught. And I found out that was wrong. But even in jumping into it, and I was listening to people that I was trusting, I was like, I don't know, like things, if I eat fruits though, like fruits are sugars. And we just did a sugar detox workshop about a month ago, and I was really concerned about that. I was like, that's fructose. Fructose is even worse than sucrose, and which is the table sugar. And I don't know, that's not good. The research that I got, even though we were given a talk about how corrupt the system was, the research that we got was still corrupt, that I was passing on. I'm like, oh my God, this is like a web that we keep untangling here, deeper and deeper and deeper. And the misinformation runs so deep these days for things that were for actual truths, and it's so buried. But for me, I was so concerned about my blood sugar spiking by eating fruit, because when I was keto, what I was eating, I would eat like an almond. It has a little bit of very little sugar, a few carbohydrates in it, and the next day I would notice my blood sugar would spike. Oh dang it! It got me out of ketosis, which I was trying to do at that time. My blood sugar would jump up from it should be around 80 or so, and it'd jump up to 100 the next day. Like, oh my God, I'm so sensitive. This is ridiculous. That's not very good. Someone who's diabetic will recognize what that looks like when their blood sugar is spiking all over the place. I was tracking this every day. When I switched to fruits, I was terrified, eating more of that, and because now, I'm juicing, and literally, I got an entire cantaloupe, and that makes 1 quart. I'm drinking 6 quarts a day of juice. An entire watermelon, that's mine for the day. I'm drinking the juice from it. That's a lot of fructose. That's a lot of sugar. When I checked my blood sugar, that first day, you've got to be kidding me. It's it's not spiked. The second day, it spiked a little bit. I'm like, oh, dang it, maybe I made a wrong decision here. Third day, came back down. And I started realizing that it was spiking, it was bouncing around because toxins are being released. As toxins started to pump into my body, it gets released from the tissues, it causes an adrenaline spike in the body because the body says, oh my God, we have toxins, we gotta flush it out. And so you'll go through these periods where all of a sudden maybe you may get anxiety. It starts to come on, and it hits you in a wave and it starts to come out, but it'll affect your blood. And for me, when I was measuring that, so if those of you who have diabetes or you're just real sensitive to blood sugar, that was a real concern of mine. And I can tell you that by tracking it over the last month of doing nothing but mostly fruits and vegetables, like those are the only two things that we're consuming, in high doses of just the juice, not even the pulp, my blood sugar has been more stable and more maintained than it ever was when I was eating almost zero carbohydrates, period. It's completely blown my mind. So I want to give you that as there's some fears that I know that I went through that I was concerned about. Skin.
Can you just touch base a little bit more about how like stress will provoke a higher blood sugar reaction too? So like you mentioned that stress, like the body will go through stress as it's like getting old stress stuff out of the body, but at the same time, mental stressors will increase your blood sugar as well.
Yep. So it's multifactorial. It's not just food. We're kind of like led to believe, and this is what happens. I guess people that are diabetic who check their blood regularly, they may be very tuned into this, that if you have a stressful day, it'll affect your blood sugar, right? It's not just the food. Like you can eat same foods day 1 and day 2, but have 2 different things happen. Like day 1 was pretty relaxed. The next day you had a stressful event. Like watch your blood sugar, it's gonna spike because that's how our body responds to it. Like you were saying, it will spike the blood sugar, it will spike adrenaline, which we have too much adrenaline. So it's my personal belief that we actually get toxic stores of constant adrenaline that stays in our tissue that will also be released when we start to do this cleanse. So I've felt it, I've read things about it, and so it makes a whole lot of sense. So that's the things that I wanted to talk about. Now I talked about a lot of the bad stuff, right? But in doing this, you're gonna start to talk about that because that's exciting. It's almost like, ooh, as this junk is coming out of me, like I'm pumped to talk about it. I'm pumped to talk about like, oh my God, the other day I went number 2 12 times. 12 times! Like this is crazy. Someone else is like, oh my God, that sounds like you're sick or something's wrong with you. You're like, no, it's like I'll show you pictures of it. It's awesome. It's like the best thing ever. It's like, and you're like, oh my gosh, why would I want to do something like this? Like, oh my gosh, look, I started breaking out. Like, oh my gosh, I've been detoxing, like, and like stinking more. And then people are like, this sounds like the worst thing ever. Like no, like I'm excited because it's coming out of me. Because I'm feeling better. It's raising my vibration. I'm getting all these benefits that I was kind of talking to you guys about earlier, that everything is starting to be more connected. So it's really, really exciting when you see it, and it's like you want to kind of share the stuff that might scare someone off and help you to realize that it's not a scary thing. It's actually the body. If you guys have been, well, most of you guys have been adjusted here, you understand retracing. You understand that the body sometimes has to feel worse before it feels better, and you have to go through that process, and on the other side of it, you go, oh man, I feel like $1 million compared to how I did before. Thank God I went through this process. Thank goodness I dealt with those issues and I didn't get scared and turn around and leave. Because you have to sometimes take that hero's journey to go on where everybody else might have stopped in order to get to where you need to actually go. So that's what's the next slide?
So just going back into
Jump over here.
And so what is a detox? So detox and cleansing is really pretty much the same thing, but detox, of course, is short for detoxification. And as I talked about earlier, talking about why would you do a cleanse to begin with, talking about the fact that your gut is your second brain, so we really want to take care of our second brain to make sure that it's able to make the right decisions, not only the right decisions for as far as what we're eating, but what we're doing, how we're consuming, how we're interacting with the world, and like really allowing us to express health and vitality, and make sure the immune system is part of expressing health and vitality. So when it comes to a detox, like a detox is really a concentrated use of superfoods or supplements that have superfoods. So like Dr. Lee just gave you the example of how we've been utilizing superfoods through organic fruits and vegetables that we've been using to juice, so that way we can utilize them to have their beautiful, nourishing. By the way, you all know in here, but for those who don't know, like I'm pregnant. I'm pregnant. I'm 16 weeks pregnant today officially. And some people are like, where are you getting your protein? What are you doing? Oh my gosh, you're gonna harm the baby. Are you okay? Well, they're not really saying that to me, but like I could feel that. And it's like, y'all, I am doing the best thing that I could possibly be doing for the soul that's growing inside of me right now. I'm doing the best thing that's for me to nourish and create that environment for that soul to grow inside of me. And that baby's not going without. What that baby's going without is a bunch of the toxins and the stuff that I've already released from these 19 days that I've been doing this superfood cleanse like this. So it's incredible. So even if like, you know, because it's like such a, you know, scary thing, it's like asterisks, you know, if you're pregnant, do not consume all these other things, right? Guess what? Walking, talking example right here. Everything's fine, I'm feeling great. In fact, it's wonderful because I clearly have aversions towards certain foods, but I don't have it with my fruits and my vegetables, so I'm enjoying it and getting it juiced this way. So a concentrated use of superfoods and supportive supplements to release the toxins, and I like to call them the unwanted guests, like parasites, bacteria, staphylococcal infection, streptococcus infection, all those underlying things I'm telling you about. Let me give you a little information about that while I'm here. What a lot of people don't realize, even when there's a virus that is out there, whether it's a flu virus, SARS virus, COVID virus, whatever it might be that's out there, I'm here to let you guys know that it's not this flu, rhinovirus, you know, common cold or whatever, that's really causing all of the issues. What's happening is that all of us, myself included, Dr. Lee included, and we're like healthy people, I'm not gonna lie, like we're pretty darn healthy compared to the average bear. But we all either have different types of bacteria in our body, meaning strep bacteria, staphylococcal bacteria, and they're all their varying strains. Epstein-Barr virus is a very common one that a lot of people have inside of their body. And contrary to what people realize, some people just think of the Epstein-Barr virus as, oh yeah, mono, when you get super tired and it affects your spleen and your white blood cell count and all these other things that happens whenever people know about mono, extreme fatigue, like don't have the energy to do anything, hair loss, thyroid issues, and you realize how all these other autoimmune conditions start developing from these types of things. And what people don't realize is a lot of times that they have the Epstein-Barr virus inside their body, just because they might not be in the mononucleosis stage of feeling all these other symptoms. Epstein-Barr virus actually has 4 stages, mono being the second stage. That first stage, it's quiet, it's proliferating, meaning it's replicating inside of your body and starting to affect other areas of the body, just waiting for a little opportunity to strike, right? And that's how it works. And that's the same thing that happens with a lot of bacteria in the body, because our bodies are amazing machines, people. We were so intelligently designed that our bodies are absolutely amazing machines. It is amazing what our bodies can put up with before it starts to show symptoms, or before we start to notice the symptoms. I've actually told people this before, and I don't want to say, we're like cockroaches, people. Like cockroaches live through everything and live off of everything. If you think about it, our bodies really handle and sustain and do a lot of things before it starts acting out on us. It's just that we've been so blocked and so disconnected that we haven't been able to notice it. It's the truth. I'm not pointing fingers, but that's what's happened. And it just hasn't been helped because we've been brainwashed and conditioned into believing this is the way you're supposed to eat, this is the way you're supposed to think, this is what you need to do, you need to cover your body this way, put this on there. Oh, we have all these opportunities to cover things up. Oh, you're breaking out? Don't worry, we've got skincare products for that. Oh, guess what, you got horrible digestion? Don't worry, we got a pill for that. Oh, you're stocked up? Don't worry, we got a pill for that too. We've got a pill for every ill here in this society, but those pills aren't fixing jack. They're not fixing anything. Sure, it keeps our loved ones and us alive sometimes and stuff, and there's a time and a place, but we got to take care of our bodies. We got to put health in our own hands. It has always been there. It is our birthright. It has always been our birthright to have health and vitality, and we're going to get it back. And part of that's going to be what we're putting and consuming inside of our body through detoxing. So, pros, whole body reset, digestively and physically. You got to hear the story of Dr. Lee talking about how, like, literally spiritual connectedness. Talk about the more that we like are toxified, blocked, interfered with, and everything else, how can you truly think? What are your own thoughts? What are our own thoughts? Now we realize there are unwanted guests, bugs, parasites, staph, like I said, Epstein-Barr virus, all these other things that are living inside of our body, and we reverse that. So these outside viruses like a flu and this and that, when those get introduced into our body, because it's foreign to our body, when we already have other types of bacteria, Epstein's barr, all this other stuff I was talking about, reason why it acts so different inside everybody's body is because we already have those underlying things in our body. We all have different lives, different histories, different ways that we're taking care of our bodies or lack thereof. Now we get this outside foreign substance come in there, boom, it wakes all that stuff up. You see what I'm saying? So it's not just this one scary thing that's floating around out there that actually is causing all these issues inside of our body. It's the fact that we already have stuff happening inside of our body, but it's just acting quiet, kicking its little feet, being that cute little thing, waiting for some outside thing to activate it, wake it up, and boom, it sets off this cascade chain reaction. And that's why every single person is going to react differently, no matter what it is, no matter how much they try to isolate it, because they haven't isolated my body in a petri dish. Have they isolated your body in a petri dish? How about yours? Nope, they haven't isolated anybody's body in a petri dish, and then when they do, they usually do it off of studies saying that they do it based off of the average healthy human being, which you know what it usually is? It's usually like a male college student. I don't know about you, but male college students or female college students usually aren't the healthiest people. I know what the heck they're consuming. I was in college. I know what they're doing on the weekends.
Sandwiches.
Yeah, what the heck are they eating? They're living on a budget, you know what I mean? So, I digress.
5 years later, they have autoimmune conditions, problems.
And they have autoimmune conditions throughout their like teenage years and everything else, but it was quiet. But then they keep eating the same things and doing the crummy things, getting stressed out and everything else, and then you just see how that cascade reaction happens. So improved health and vitality, cellular repair, and improved function and excretion. I already talked about earlier, we're made of 50 trillion cells. Every single one of our cells needs the same nourishment that we need. It needs sunlight, it needs good nutrients, food, it needs water, good clean quality water. We need to be able to allow our bodies to digest, to excrete, to eliminate our cells. Each and every single of the 50 trillion cells inside of our body excretes. You want to know something else pretty cool?
What's excrete mean?
To excrete, that means to urinate or to defecate. One or the other, so one or two. Our cells do that too, okay? A little differently, and in fact, you're like, okay, well, so is the cell like pooping inside your digestive system so it goes out your colon? No. So we know our whole process, we consume, it goes down through the food tube, goes through here, goes through the liver, pancreas, gallbladder, goes all the way out the other end, right? Each and every one of our cells, you want to know where they release their byproducts? Our lymph. Our lymph. Meaning like those lymph nodes, you know, oh, that's swollen glands, swollen lymph nodes. You got lymph nodes around here, you got lymph nodes all around here, you got lymph nodes in your groin region, you got lymph nodes in your breast tissue, everything. They still don't understand the lymph nodes. It's insane. They are so, so, so important. Okay, and how quick are they to cut it out? Oh, it's too big, cut it out. Too big, cut it out. And you're like, whoa, you're getting rid of all my trash receptacles here. I need my trash receptacles there because they're serving a purpose. Why are they getting full? Because they are not able to be released. And why are they not being able to be released? Like that's where our brains always go. Why are they not being able to release? Because there is too much happening. I don't care. In our household, so it's like you got trash, you empty it out. But if you just keep emptying it out and you just keep filling it up in your backyard, stuff's not only gonna stink, things are gonna grow, you're gonna get your cockroaches, you're gonna get your rats that are apparently attracted to cat urine and all this other stuff, you know what I mean? And so like all this stuff's gonna start building up. But it's building up inside your body. And then we start seeing these symptoms like fluid retention. You get puffy, your skin starts breaking out. Oh, things start to get uncomfortable. Things start breaking down. Kidneys aren't working, kidney stones. You see where I'm going? We've got to empty out the trash. Not only for ourselves, but for our cells to be able to empty it out. Detoxing allows your cells to be able to empty out because we need new healthy cells to be turning over every single day for everything inside our bodies. Okay? Healing from chronic inflammatory conditions. Hello, I kind of gave you kind of connections in happening this way. Weight loss, and that's the thing. Like a lot of people want to do cleanses and stuff for weight loss. That's just a healthy byproduct of what happens whenever you release all the crap out of your body. You're gonna lose weight.
Have you lost any weight on this?
Oh, by the way, I'm pregnant. I should be gaining weight. I have actually lost weight, and it's not in a scary way. Like I'm actually.
How many pounds?
I've lost 17 pounds since being pregnant. And
You wouldn't think she had 17 pounds.
To lose that.
yeah, and that's the other thing we didn't even share. So like the average person, whenever they're, I don't know how it is in the cleanse, and Madalyne's gonna go, and we're going right into this, and we're gonna let Madalyne share her experience personally with the products and everything. But the average female is holding 25 pounds of stuff, crap, parasite, blah, stuff inside of her body. 25 pounds. I just told you I lost 17 pounds. And a lot of it could have been water weight too, you know what I mean? But like in a tiny frame like myself, I just kind of started having a little bit of lifestyle creep. And
But when people say water weight, I'm gonna jump in here.
Which is good, because now we got the lymph.
Water weight is
retention.
actually the lymph fluid, which is the trash receptacle, actually being dumped out. So it's not just, oh, we have this pure water that's just sitting here inside of our bodies, and all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, you just peed out that water weight. No, when you're doing this, when you're going through a detoxing cleanse, you're actually dumping the toxic load out, and it's being carried out through the fluids, and it's going out through the kidneys, which means that you're going to urinate it out. So you're going to probably see a lot of yellow urine. It does not mean you're losing vitamins, because you're eating whole food nutrition right now through either the powders or the forms that are just dehydrated, and you're getting the proper nutrients in the body. So if you start seeing yellow pee, celebrate that every single time, because you're actually filtering out your body. And if you start going and urinating, going to the bathroom a lot more often, and you're losing that water weight is carrying out the chemicals, the glyphosates, the heavy metals out of your body. So you want to celebrate that. And so it's actually a huge deal, because that swelling in the fluid, you know how people get older, they start to have swelling around their ankles? Never had that as a kid. You know what that is? That's that trash that's in the lymph fluid that's just hanging out there. Pregnant women, it's like, oh yeah, that's normal for you to get, I see it all the time. You know, like everyone says that it's normal, and I'm going in here and it's like, whoa, you have edema. Like this is a very kind of, oh no, it's normal. It's not, it's normal for women to do that during pregnancy. No, your body is protecting the baby, and it's putting all the additional trash into your system, and so you are already toxic, and now it's settling down around your ankles, which is the lowest center of gravity. You can't get that out. So when you start dumping this out of your body, it's water weight that's being lost, but it's the best. It's not water, that's a misnomer. You're dumping out, you're taking out the trash. Every time that you're going pee, every time that you're going poop. You're taking out the garbage from in the cells, and you're getting it out.
Yeah. So there you go. And so yeah, so just like me personally, losing that, and obviously I'm gonna start. So I'm back. I'm like at the weight where like I should be at with my frame and my body size and my stature. So now, when as I start gaining, because I have a being growing inside me, I'm gonna be gaining like good, healthy weight that would be associated with the fact that I have a baby growing inside me. See what I mean? So yeah, and then less reliance on medication or need for medication will just happen whenever you start cleansing and purifying your body and allowing the organs to work the way they're designed and intended to. So let's move into the power of water. I know we've got people in here that know the power of water in remarkable ways. I'm going to bring up Madalyne so she can share her expertise talking about the power of water and maybe more ways than what than just obviously like good, clean, quality water and the nourishment that it provides for the body. So Madalyne, come on up. Yes, I'm so excited for us to be sharing this together.
Thank you. Hi everyone. Madalyne, so grateful to be here with you all, and you on the Facebook. Hi. So I'll just share really quick a little bit about myself. So I've been on a really deep wellness and nutrition journey for the last 10 years. And so I've been doing nutrition coaching and holistic wellness. And one of the things that I just kind of want to reflect and pull little pieces of what you all have already shared is this understanding of like our connection with ourselves and our intuition and our guidance. That's been like a driving force for me behind my nutrition and the way in which she's shared that our gut is our second brain, you know, and 90% of our serotonin is produced in our gut. And so it's like our actual feel good, like us feeling good and feeling like we can be in life and with our family and doing the things that we need to do is like taking care of our gut is so important for that. And so I'm going to share a little bit more about my story later from that. But first we'll talk about some of the water. So 70% of our bodies are made of water, and I actually have, I don't know if if you wanted to speak to this, but we live on a water planet. Human life survival relies on water availability, and water holds memory, right? So the planet's made of 70% water, but so are we. We're one with the planet. The separation is an illusion. So whatever we're doing, like to our bodies, like the earth is also connected to that. And so if you want to go, oh, you already did, great. So these are just some percentages of like how much the body is made of water. So it's like if we're not hydrated, like what do you think our brain's doing? Or all these organs? Like it just doesn't make sense. So it's like when we're hydrated, we're gonna feel better. And the quality of the water is also really important. You know, the water that's coming out of our drains in our house, it's going through all these pipes, and it's not living water. You know, living water that's flowing from streams and things like that. It's circulating and spiraling, and it's creating a geometry that's held inside of these water molecules, and then we're drinking it. Our body responds to these different geometries. It responds to different memory because water holds memory. You know, I know that maybe some of you have heard like our muscles hold memory, or maybe you've went and got a massage or something, and all of a sudden a random memory pops up for you, or you're working out, you're working your muscles, and it's because these memories are actually stored in the waters that are in our body as well. So if we're really hydrated, then all of our organs and the systems that she's talking about are going to be functioning at their highest, and especially when we're drinking like the really good water that they have here. That's actually hydrating you. I think a lot of the water that we drink is actually not hydrating us. And so we can go ahead and go to the next slide. So I want to talk about kind of more the spiritual side of things as well, because that's actually a lot of what I do in my work in the world. Has to do with spirituality and the holistic side of things, knowing that our body is not separate from our spirit, it's not separate from our mind, it's not separate from our emotions. And so this photo here is actually an understanding of how our words impact water molecules and our thoughts even. So these are under a microscope different ways that water has been programmed with these different words here. So you can see like what these top ones are really beautiful, and these like really unique geometric snowflakes. And like, what does you fool look like? What does you make me sick, evil? This is water that was polluted from a river, and this is what it looked like after there was a prayer over it. Okay? So whether you're whether you work with prayer or not, you can work with intention. It's the same thing. It's just a different word for it. And so what you can do is like with your water that you're drinking, which is going to be so important during this cleanse, is you can say an intention over it. You can just put your hands on it and just put your thoughts into it. And so it's like for me, every day when I get up, I'm setting my intentions for my day, and I'm putting it in my water, and as I'm drinking it, like today my intention was about harmony. I wanted to create harmony in my body and in my life. And so every time I was drinking, I was like, thank you. And I was imagining I was drinking in harmony. And that memory is like going into my body, it's going into my tissues, it's going into my day, because our bodies are made of water. Guess what conducts electricity? Water. It's a powerful energy. It's like it's moving things around us, and it's vibrating. We're all vibrating with each other. And so there's actually, you can look up too, there's this experiment by this man named Dr. Emoto. Has anybody heard of the water experiment? Mm-hmm. Okay, so Dr. Emoto did this experiment, this rice experiment, where he had 3 different beakers of rice and put water in it. And one, he would come up to it every day and he would say, I love you, you're beautiful. The next one, I hate you, I hope you die. And the third one, he completely ignored. And over like 2 or 3 weeks, the one that he said, I hate you, you're ugly, or whatever it was, got really moldy, like the rice molded. The one that he ignored became rotten. And so that's also an understanding of what are we doing to our children when we ignore our children. It's actually worse than saying something bad to them. So there's a whole study, so that's like a whole nother rabbit hole that we could go down around the power of words and how it affects water molecules. But the one that he said, I love you, you're beautiful to, turned into a white rice wine. Like that's the power of words and sounds. And like I was raised in Christianity, are your thoughts that you're having about yourself every day? Or what's in your environment that needs to shift and change so that your thoughts can shift and change? Or what affirmations do you want to speak to yourself so that you're just like holding an awareness of that energy that you're putting into your water molecules and that you're exchanging with people that you're around. And so the clean water here is great for that, as well as the understandings that these products, the purine products, actually, the water that gets watered into the superfoods is super clean. There's no glyphosate in it, and we'll talk more about glyphosate as we move on, but glyphosate has been so sprayed on our food on the planet that it's actually gotten into our waterways. So even if you're eating organic food and you're paying all this extra money for organic food, it's being watered with water that has glyphosate in it. So we're still getting poisoned by it. And so what I love about this, it's so pure, even the water is tested and is glyphosate free. And so we're really getting the most purest nutrition in our body. Okay, so yeah, the next slide.
If you wouldn't mind sharing real quick, where's the main place that glyphosate comes from that we all would be familiar with?
Monsanto.
Have you guys heard of Roundup?
Roundup?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So the Roundup is glyphosate. Glyphosate is the chemical that they're spraying on all of the crops, and they've been doing it more and more and more. I mean, you can buy it for your own weeds, but that's what they do in industrial mass farming practices. Is they spray this across all the crops because it kills off all the weeds, and the genetically modified crops can withstand that, and they don't die from it. So they literally hose it down. Not just like a little bit of a drizzle, it's literally drenched in it.
And the people that are doing that are wearing full body suits because it's so poisonous. And I actually know a friend that was an airplane person that was spraying it, and he actually got exposed to it and gave him a severe chemical burn in his body. So it's like that's what's being put on the food. So yeah, and also even like it's used to like spray wheat to get it to dry quicker to be able to get it to sell quicker. It's been a corrupt system. It's slowly poisoning us. So
And to ripen the fruits faster too. So
Yeah.
that way they can put it out. They literally will they'll pick the fruits before they're ripe, and then they'll like literally contain it and like smoke it, so to say, fume it to make it ripen.
Mm-hmm. So 10 years ago, this was me. I weighed over 200 pounds, and I was 24. I had 2 children under the age of 2, and I wasn't tending to myself. I ate a lot of fast food. Everything was processed. A lot of just like microwavable, anything that was easy for me to survive because I had these 2 little babies. One of them had special needs, and so it was a lot for me to just get my kids to survive, let alone myself. And so not only was I eating really bad, I had depression. I had postpartum depression pretty severely, and was on antidepressants as well. And another thing that was massively contributing to my depression was like the marriage that I was in, the people I was surrounding myself with. What was happening? It was a lot of alcohol, a lot of cannabis, and just numbing out, just a very toxic environment. And I got so depressed, and I was like, is this life? I was 24 years old, and I was like, this is as good as it gets? Like, this is it? I don't want to be here. And like, I was contemplating suicide. And I had 2 little babies, and I was like, I can't do that. Like, I can't leave them. And so I was like, I've got to do something different. And I tried working out to feel better, and it was like, it wasn't until I changed my nutrition. For me, at first, that looked like stopping to eat meat. And so when I stopped eating meat, my vibration changed. I elevated. I lost 20 pounds really quickly in 3 months. But like, that's as far as I got. I was still exercising. I wasn't nourishing my body. It was like, we hear a lot about like, lower your calories, lower your sugar, lower your carbs, like decrease. Nobody talks about like, increase your water, increase your fiber, increase your mineral content, macro and micro phytonutrients. Like nobody talks about increasing, and even a lot of us, many women specifically, are not even eating enough calories to actually support in weight loss, because our body's going into starvation mode, so it's hanging on to whatever we give it. So this was my first journey after clean eating, and I started getting regular chiropractic care was a huge part of my journey. not with you all, this was
I know.
years ago, but and I started surrounding myself by leaders of leaders doing personal development, putting myself around people that were like, that could see the light in me and be like, hey, I see you, come share your story. And I was like, had a lot of anxiety. I was like, I can't speak in front of people. Like, it was very scary for me. I had never stepped into a leadership position before. And I know that like Ruthie, I've been friends with Ruthie for a long time. She's been able to witness a lot of my journey. So you can go to the next slide. Okay, so this is actually my 30-day cleanse. Okay, so this is last year. A lot of people, we packed on some of the pandemic weight. All right, there's a lot of us that did that. And I did that as well. So this is the top picture. This is when I first started my cleanse. And this is just after 30 days. I lost 17.5 pounds, 4 inches off my waist, 1.5 inches off my thigh, and an inch off my hips. And so I actually started doing this because every time I was eating, I was having stomach pain. I had been eating vegan, organic, gluten-free, and high fermented foods for 3 years. And I put on this weight, and I was having pain every time that I ate this really good food that I was spending a lot of money on. My food wasn't digesting well. I could tell my body wasn't absorbing the food, but I didn't know anything about glyphosate. And so when I found out about the Biomedic product, that actually it's the only product on the market that's clinically proven to detoxify glyphosate 75% within 6 weeks. And so when I started taking the Biomedic, within 2 weeks, my stomach pain went away. My bowel movements changed. I could tell my body was actually absorbing the nutrients from the food that I was eating. And so it was really powerful for me. My pain went away. I stopped having to nap every day. Like my energy levels increased. I felt so like, wow, I'm so energized by this. And that's another thing. The Superfood products, it's in a powder form, but it's like drinking raw green juice every day. It's dehydrated at a really low temperature, between 60 and 80 degrees. So it's still in its raw living state. Most food powders are dehydrated between 180 and 220 degrees. And so a lot of the nutrients actually get cooked out of it. And so this is a really special, unique process that they do. It's dehydrated, and so it's still raw. And so you can feel it, it's living. You can feel it like light up in your system when you drink it. And it energizes you. And there is good proteins in it. And some of the aminos that you take with it has 15 grams of pre-digested vegan protein, so it's absorbed in the lymphatic system instead of the digestive system. And so you're getting like over 20 grams of protein together, and it's very satisfying. And your brain feels better, you sleep better with the tart cherry juice, and takes down inflammation and supports you in sleeping and repairing as you're sleeping. And so, yeah, also detox the parasite. You mentioned that earlier, like you might see a little something scary in the toilet, like totally had that experience. And I wanted to say, one of the most disturbing things that we talked about the last time about the cat and the mouse thing is to think about that the parasite is actually willing to destroy the host to get what it wants. Like the parasite in the mouse is willing to get the mouse killed in order to get what it wants in the cat's stomach. Like that's, to know that like there's consciousness that's operating through us, it's like controlling these things, is like really something to look at. And so for me, it was so powerful when I did this first cleanse, and I like to do this about 4 times a year. It's kind of like, we're changing the oil in our cars, like that every year. We're taking better care of our cars than we do our body. So it's just a really beautiful way to connect with the body and know that as you do go through this cleanse, there are different things that come up holistically, right? The emotions, the mental patterns, the cravings, all that stuff, or even the emotional connection with food. That's something that's been the hardest for me, is like how, so it's like, is food our friend? How are we programmed as a child? Like, oh, you're sad, let's go get some ice cream. And it's just like, it's imprinting and it's conditioning, and it's like how our nervous system operates. It's the memory that's held in our body, right? It just remembers to do that. And so it's like, it's a really good opportunity, which I like to create an invitation, is as you go through this process, to like keep a little journal and just track. Just track like what's coming up for you. What's coming up for you? What's leaving? What patterns are you going to shift and change? And take this as an opportunity to really like create a powerful lifestyle shift for yourself, to really look at your deep underlying patterns of your relationship with food and your relationship with your body, and like take this time to like really love yourself. And even if that looks like you're just showing up for these classes and you're not ready to do the cleanse, like that's okay too. You know, even just the understanding of water, and you shifting that, even if that's the only thing that you do, like that can shift so much for your whole life. And so, is there one more slide? Okay, so, you want me to talk about it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so these QR codes, this one you can scan, this will give you the full 30 days. So what's beautiful about this is it's gentle, right? So for me personally, I never experienced like massive amounts of diarrhea or anything like that. Granted, I've been eating really clean. So the first 10 days of the cleanse is gentle. You're just introducing the core 4 products, which is you're going to do your green juice, you're going to take your aminos, you're going to take the Madalyne, they'll detox the glyphosate, and you drink some tart cherry juice before you go to bed. Once a day ritual, super easy. You're not changing a whole lot about what you're doing. I would highly recommend though decreasing meat intake, decreasing caffeine, decreasing alcohol, nicotine, so that when you do go into the cleanse, you're not like massively like in withdrawal from those things. So then by the time you get to the second 10 days, you're actually doing the once a day ritual 3 times a day. You're totally flooding your body with the superfood 3 times a day. But there's also an approved snack list. So it's great because you don't have to do liquids the whole time, those whole 10 days. You're doing the core 4 products 3 times a day, and then you're also introducing the parasite and colon cleanse. And I'll tell you, for me, it was still really gentle on my system. I felt really good for the first few days, and then after the first few days, it's like when the detox really starts happening. And so for me, my symptoms, like the only kind of, strange symptom for me was actually I got a pretty like interesting rash on the insides of my armpits because my body was like detoxing, my skin was detoxing. And so that was pretty uncomfortable, but it was like I was aware that it was from the cleanse. And so you can still eat a little bit if you need to on that from the snack list, which is in the folder, in the packet. It's all on there. It also gives you different lists of the foods that are really supportive of the cleanse. And then the last 10 days of the cleanse, so once you do that for 10 days, and you'll feel so good, super energized. Like I'm actually really surprised how much I'm not really that hungry. In fact, it actually makes me eat more. I usually kind of undereat, so I'm actually eating more than I normally do. And in the last 10 days, you start kind of weaning off of like all of the liquids, and you start introducing food back in, but you're still doing the once a day core 4 ritual. And then to maintain that, you want to stay on the core 4, and honestly, you're going to love it. It tastes so good and you feel so good, and it's like once a day maintenance to keep the glyphosate out of your gut, so worth it. To sleep better at night, so worth it. To have more energy, so worth it. Just like that once a day ritual to tend to your body, which is like, I know a lot of us can tend to be givers, especially people who are part of families and communities, and this is a way that we can give to ourselves and like really fill us up so that we're capable of giving to other people. So if you're not quite ready to do the 30 days, this is the core 4, the juice, the aminos, the biomedic, and the tart cherry juice once a day, and this one's like the full 30 days. And so we're gonna keep doing this for the next 5 weeks and bring in deeper awarenesses around different ways to include some really powerful information for your cleansing journey.
Yeah.
So, thank you all so much for listening, and thank you for letting me come and share my story. And I'm a part of the group as well, and that group can be a space for us to even share recipes. That's something that some of the groups that I've had in the past is like looking off of the sheets and creating something and like taking a picture like, hey, look at this thing that I made. People are like, oh my gosh, that looks amazing. Give me the recipe. And so it's a place that we can share in that way. We can share like, hey, wow, I'm having a really hard time, this thing. And like, I'm just noticing that I had an emotional day. I got in a fight with my partner and I wanted to eat this cheeseburger or whatever that is. And it's a space for accountability. This, every week, is a space for accountability. And so also, if you know anybody that wants to join, whether on the Facebook Live or in here, and start the cleanse, please also share the information with them, and then they can join us.
Do you guys have, so we'll open up some space for questions. questions. If you guys have any questions on the top of your head, we'll be able to field those. Otherwise, we'll kind of like slowly start unpacking, tearing some stuff down here. But if you have questions, go ahead and bring them up. You can either bring them up to us individually or ask now as a group. So I just want to offer that to
The
you
floor
guys.
being open to that. And the barcodes that are up here, you also have them in your packets there. On that orange sheet of the bright, obnoxious orange sheet of paper, the barcode is on there too, so that way you don't have to freak out about trying to catch it up here. They're the same thing up there. But we just want to have that. For those of you that are on Facebook Live, don't worry, we'll get those up there. You already have access to the barcode because it was on the flyer just talking about the event. But I'll make sure to add it into the documents on there so you'll be able to have access to it, and everything else that we were referencing that the people here in the workshop currently have inside their packets. I'll make sure I have those available to you guys on there as well, so that way you can put them on for your leisure or pulling them up on your tablets, phones, computers, whatever is easiest for you. So those of you that have questions that are in there, make sure you leave questions and comments. Like Madalyne will be in there as well, so she'll be willing to answer questions and anything in particular, because you've done this how many times with your product. So feel free to ask questions in there. We're in here for you. We want to help elevate consciousness and help everyone be able to cleanse, purify, and reach the highest level